All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are breaking down a really fascinating strategic shift for a major global player. We're looking at what could be a rare second chance for Pakistan on the world stage.
Okay, let's just dive right into this, because this one idea, from an article in the Dawn newspaper, it pretty much tells the whole story. It puts a fundamental challenge right on the table. Can Pakistan finally pivot from a decades-long regional rivalry to a truly global strategy?
So to really get a handle on where Pakistan could be headed, we've got to look back first. We need to understand this really rigid doctrine that's been driving its foreign and military policy for decades.
And this lays out the core conflict perfectly. On one hand, you've got the old model, where basically every single strategic thought begins and ends with India as the #1 threat. But on the other hand, you have this new reality dawning, where the real opportunities, the real prizes, are in the Middle East, and they're won with diplomacy and economic strength, not just military might.
And the source is really blunt about this. Clinging to that old, single-enemy mindset, it isn't just outdated, it's a surefire way to get left behind on a world stage that's changing incredibly fast. At the end of the day, the cost of this obsession is irrelevance.
Okay, so if that's the old way of thinking, what's the new way? This is where this whole swing state idea comes in. But what does that actually mean? What does it look like?
Okay, this is the big idea right here. Think of it this way. You stop being a client state, totally dependent on one big power, and you become more of a strategic player, a broker. A swing state has the flexibility to work with everyone, the US, China, the Gulf states, all at the same time, playing the field and leveraging that position for its own good.
Now here's what's so interesting. As the US kind of pulls back its direct military presence in some areas, it's not just leaving a vacuum. It's looking for partners to basically outsource regional stability. So it's a huge test, right? Can Pakistan evolve from being a security state, always focused on its own survival, into a regional manager that others can actually rely on? And look, and it's a big F, if Pakistan can actually pull this off, the payoff could be enormous, especially when you look at the Middle East, a region that's, turbulent, but also just packed with opportunity.
I mean, think about it. The goal here is to get influence without having to go to war, to earn respect without being dependent on anyone. We're talking about attracting serious dollar inflows and gaining real geopolitical weight, all by becoming a go-between, a mediator between huge rivals like Iran and the US or Iran and the Gulf states. That's the prize.
But here's the massive complication, the big one. You can't talk about the Middle East today without talking about Israel. And for Pakistan, any kind of public alliance or even normalization with Israel is, it's politically explosive back home. It's the ultimate tightrope walk. How do you play on the world stage without setting your own house on fire? And the source is very clear that this whole transformation is incredibly fragile. This is not a done deal by any stretch. In fact, the whole strategy could come crashing down because of 3 major risks.
First up, the danger of just plain overstretch. It's that classic problem, right? Your ambition to be a big regional player is writing checks that your weak economy just can't cash. You can't project power abroad if you're constantly struggling to keep the lights on at home.
And second, your own house has to be in order. It's just that simple. I mean, how can you possibly position yourself as a manager of global chaos if you're dealing with constant instability at home? Nobody's going to trust you. Your credibility is zero.
And finally, number 3, the old power structure is just backwards for the modern world. For decades, the focus has been on having a strong military, while the economy lagged behind. But that's not how it works anymore. In the 21st century, real sustainable power grows out of a strong economy first. The military and diplomacy, they follow from that.
So how do you avoid all these pitfalls? Well, the source lays out a pretty clear 4-step playbook. Step 1, you've got to kill that single enemy mindset. Get over the obsession. Step 2, build a real, solid economic backbone. Step 3, seriously upgrade your professional diplomacy. And step 4, and this one's tricky, master controlled neutrality. That means balancing all these different powers without getting locked into an alliance with any single one.
So at the end of the day, it all boils down to this, a fundamental choice. There are 2 paths forward, and they lead to 2 very, very different futures.
And this chart just lays it all out, brutally and honestly. On one side, you have the path to failure. That's the path of emotional, ideological, India-focused thinking, the old way. On the other side, the path to rise. And that requires a cold,
calculated, multi-directional strategy. It's about national interest over everything else.
And that leads us to maybe the most important takeaway of all. Before you can even think about managing the region or projecting power on the world stage, you have to manage yourself. Global power starts at home. It starts with internal order.
So what are we left with? Well, we're left with this huge question. A question not just for Pakistan's leaders, but for the entire structure of the state. The opportunity is there. You can see it. The risks, they're crystal clear. The playbook has even been written. But the real question is Pakistan actually ready and willing to make the deep internal changes needed to seize this moment?